The waters, in an infinite and majestic expanse, stretch until the gaze is lost on the horizon. The submarine abysses, unfathomable and mysterious, guard the darkest secrets, while coral reefs, vibrant and full of life, harbor a profusion of marine creatures never before imagined. Endless schools of sardines, like rivers of liquid silver, fill these nourishing waters. In the skies, the imposing royal albatross traces perfect circles, and in the inscrutable depths, the colossal blue whale reigns with sovereign serenity. In this empire ruled by the tide, nature unveils its most indomitable and captivating facet in an incessant parade of wild species that traverse its seas. This is the Pacific Ocean, a monumental aquatic world with the vastness of entire continents. Please give us a like and subscribe to the channel to give us more motivation to keep creating quality content. Don't forget to leave a comment below telling us what you thought of the video, and let us know where you're watching from so we can chat together. May Mother Nature bless everyone with good health. Peace and love for nature. Let's begin. Herds of dolphins, with overflowing energy, dazzle with their aerial acrobatics above the mirrored surface. Starfish, in an almost reverential silence, cling to the corals, adorning the seabed like living jewels. And in the abyssal depths, where sunlight barely manages to penetrate, the giant Pacific octopus glides with a mysterious and ghostly elegance. In this submerged universe, there is not a single corner, not even the most remote, where life does not sprout with overwhelming force, even from beneath the sea rock. Gigantic humpback whales intone their deafening and complex melodies, songs that travel and resonate for miles. The sperm whale, a true ghost of the depths, navigates in the midst of absolute darkness, with no company other than its own deep solitude. And clownfish, with their vibrant and striking colors, stand out like brushstrokes of light in an ecosystem where life expresses itself in an endless array of wonderful forms. But in sharp contrast to its name, the infinite waters of this submerged realm are anything but peaceful. Far out at sea, where the slightest vestige of solid ground is nothing more than a distant illusion, the sudden appearance of a fin cutting the horizon is an unmistakable omen of death. While a young seal swims with innocent placidity, From the depths emerges a gigantic and formidable great white shark that, with a single and devastating bite, disembowels the helpless marine mammal, staining the waters a deep and ephemeral red. In the North Pacific, near the icy coasts of Alaska, the feared elephant seal dives to hundreds of feet into the dark and frozen waters to satisfy its voracious appetite. No prey is completely safe from being a victim of its lethal bite and ingenious hunting strategies. But not even this colossal mammal is exempt from being devoured. For across these vast waters, pods of orcas, the killer whales, rise as the worst nightmare imaginable for any wild species. Acting as a coordinated and lethal group of assassins, there is no way to escape their attack, and their mere presence in the distance is an imminent sign of certain death. With an extension that exceeds 61 million square miles, the Pacific is the largest ocean on our planet, covering an area approximately 10 times the size of Russia, which represents a third of all the Earth's surface. To the north, the icy waters of the Bering Sea mark the northern limit of this vast underwater world. In the south, its border is established with the frozen margins of the Ross Sea almost reaching Antarctic waters. To the east, the Pacific coast of Colombia stands as its easternmost point, while to the west, nearly 12,000 miles away, the coasts of Indonesia are witnesses to the end of this immense submerged universe. Although the Pacific Ocean emerges before our eyes as an imposing blue horizon with nothing but deep waters as far as the eye can see, the truth is that inside it harbours approximately 25,000 islands, more than anywhere else in the world. These vary from land masses the size of continents, as is the case of Australia, to small archipelagos of a few dozen square yards. Each one of these islets represents an almost virgin ecosystem, a sanctuary where nature can manifest itself in almost unimaginable forms. Although the surface of the Pacific hides its own secrets, the true and deepest mysteries lie under its dark waters. At more than 36,000 feet deep, the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench emerges as the deepest point on Earth, harboring life forms that still await discovery by science. Faced with such colossal dimensions, the Pacific Ocean welcomes absolutely unprecedented biodiversity. According to scientific estimates, this infinite underwater ecosystem is home to hundreds of thousands of species of invertebrates, among them mollusks, crustaceans, and echinoderms, approximately 80 species of marine mammals, including cetaceans and pinnipeds, hundreds of species of seabirds that traverse its skies and rest on its countless islands, and dozens of species of reptiles, such as sea turtles and sea snakes. While the vast waters of this imposing ocean overflow with life, with copious schools of fish, gigantic solitary cetaceans, and numerous herds, from these same waters, where life springs also emerges, death personified in the jaws of a colossal great white shark more than 20 feet long and 2 tons in weight. With a bite formed by up to 50 sharp teeth more than 2 inches long, this gigantic shark becomes a living nightmare for fish, seals, sea lions, dolphins, sperm whales, and even pilot whales. Although the inevitable end of its victims usually occurs at the surface, with a great predator emerging from the waters with abundant prey between its jaws, the ambush begins stealthily in the depths, where the gigantic fish swims furtively in search of prey. Thanks to its very sharp sense of sight, capable of perceiving movement in very low-light conditions, this skilled carnivore can locate its victims even in the midst of the darkest waters. The location of its eyes on the sides of its head provides it with a panoramic visual field of almost 360 degrees, with which it can monitor its entire environment without allowing any prey to escape its perception. In addition to its trained underwater sight, the also known as the jaketon possesses surprising sensory abilities that allow it to perceive even the slightest changes in pressure in its environment, a very useful tool for detecting a small seal swimming or a large school of fish approaching its domains. Once the prey is in its sights, the experienced hunter approaches with extreme care, swimming in the direction of its victim and ascending slowly toward the surface. Being close to what will inevitably become its prey, the predator breaks its stealthy movements and lunges at full speed against its hunting target. With the element of surprise on its side and a massive bite, there is no way for any wild creature to escape such an infallible and lightning-fast attack. With an explosive leap, the voracious carnivore emerges from the waters with the catch firmly held between its teeth, ending its life instantly. Although it is accustomed to finishing off its prey in a single and powerful strike, occasionally, in a change of strategy and as a clear display of its cunning, it can deliver a test bite to its victims, especially when it comes to large-sized prey. After this initial attack, the calculating predator waits a few minutes for the prey to succumb to the severity of its wounds. This modus operandi is a way to avoid being injured when the size of its victim is dangerously close to the limit of its hunting capabilities. While this feared hunter always prefers to take its prey by surprise, finishing them off in an ambush, when they manage to spot it from a distance, the shark has not the slightest problem stalking them in fast and exhausting pursuits. Capable of swimming at almost 37 miles per hour, very few prey can boast of having had a giant great white shark behind them and living to tell the tale. Regardless of what its hunting strategy may be, the end is usually always the same, with the wild predator devouring its victims. Given that its very efficient bite is totally incapable of chewing, the shark tears the flesh of its large-sized prey with a violent tug, while when it comes to smaller catches, it swallows them whole. If the hunt has been fruitful with abundant prey, the shark must be fast, trying to take advantage of the greatest amount of meat, since the succulent smell of fresh blood has already alerted its peers, who will not take long to show up for the feast. Unlike gregarious species like dolphins or orcas, these encounters between great white sharks are often not very gentle. With a limited food source and several colossi capable of devouring hundreds of pounds of meat in a single meal, conflicts are practically inevitable. In fights over prey or the remains of large whales, pushing, elaborate displays of dominance, and even powerful bites are more than frequent. Despite not being social at all, when several individuals congregate in a feeding zone, generally the males establish a hierarchy through imposing displays, trying to avoid direct physical contacts that would guarantee their mutual destruction. These displays of strength and dominance consist of specific swimming patterns, such as swimming in circles or above their adversary, body movements such as lifting the snout and arching the back, as well as extremely frightening behaviors such as hitting the water surface with its tail and opening its mouth in an exaggerated way, letting its deadly bite be seen. Although in the majority of these encounters, the dispute is managed to be resolved through these elaborate displays, occasionally, when two temperamental colossi of more than a ton meet in the calm waters of the Pacific and neither is willing to submit, a bitter battle is inevitable, with both sharks launching their massive bites directly at the body of their opponent. Generally, the encounter does not last more than a few minutes, and, although brief, one of the sharks can result in serious injuries. Meanwhile, the winner has a free path to continue stalking hundreds of wild species, subjecting them under the power of its bite. Despite the fact that in its passage through the reefs, a great white shark will not even consider a tiny clownfish as prey worth the effort, these small swimmers, full of colour, prefer to prevent than to regret, and as soon as they see such a formidable predator in the vicinity of their home, they hide in the uneven seabed. Generally, nearby corals, cracks between rocks, and, of course, sea anemones are the perfect refuges to avoid ending up in the stomach not only of this great predator, but also of other voracious carnivores of the depths. The relationship between clownfish and anemones is so close that they are even called anemone fish, given their strong bond. By possessing a special layer of mucus that protects them from the toxins in the tentacles of these, the striking fish take refuge inside, avoiding any possible attack. If a predator makes the mistake of approaching the poisonous tentacles of the anemone, in just seconds the toxin will take effect on its body, leaving it momentarily paralyzed. Given their compact size of no more than 4 inches and their unmistakable appearance of a bright orange with 3 vertical white stripes with black edges, unlike the great white shark, there is no way these tiny swimmers can camouflage themselves on the seabed, so their only defense against predators consists of, as soon as they spot a possible threat, hiding in a refuge. When the fearsome predators have moved away from their home, clownfish are accustomed to coming out to the vicinity of their habitat in search of food. In contrast to their calm and harmless appearance that suggests that we are in the presence of strict herbivores, in fact, these colorful fish are omnivores, having no problems with occasionally staining their fins with blood to satisfy their appetite. The diet of these astute survivors of the depths is really varied, including algae, small crustaceans, zooplankton, tiny invertebrates, and even remains of the anemone. After satisfying their undemanding appetite, the fish are accustomed to returning to the comfort of their home in the anemone, where they are sheltered from the majority of their predators. Far from living in solitude in the middle of the calm waters of the Pacific, clownfish are quite social, preferring to live in small family groups. These are commonly formed by a dominant female, a breeding male, and several subordinate males who do not enjoy the privilege of reproducing. This archaic hierarchy is established based on the size of each individual, where, of course, the largest fish dominate the small ones. Something extremely shocking about this striking species is that, in fact, all are born as males. It is not until the dominant female of the group dies or is expelled from the anemone that the until now breeding male experiences a process of transformation driven by high levels of hormones that convert it into a functional female. This change, of course, is completely irreversible and will place the group's reproductive responsibilities on its shoulders. Simultaneously to the breeding male, in a 360-degree turn, becoming the dominant female, the one who, until this moment, was the second male in hierarchy, ascends in the social order, assuming the task of reproduction together with the new female. This particular behavior is nothing more than a survival measure employed by clownfish to guarantee reproductive success, concentrating the greatest amount of resources in the largest breeding pair. In addition to managing reproduction, the pair of clownfish ensures that they have strict dominance over the members of the group. When an anemone fills up with many individuals, the dominants expels some of their subordinates, generally those specimens of size close to their own, so as to avoid competition for resources. In this way, a strategy adopted by fish newly arrived at the group is to keep themselves smaller than their immediate superior so as to avoid being expelled. But in the complex hierarchical system of clownfish, having a larger build does not guarantee dominance of the group. Occasionally, the subordinates, in a delusion of grandeur, try to skip the delicate social structure to which the dominants respond harshly through elaborate displays, loud sounds and pursuits. The dominance rituals include individuals of the highest rank pursuing their subordinates, emitting long pulses. Faced with such behavior, the lower-ranking fish respond with faster pulses and shaking their heads as a sign of their submission. But having rebellious subordinates among their ranks is not the only threat to the peace of the group, for when an anemone is found in a privileged place, intruders with intentions of taking over their home will not take long to appear. Faced with these invaders, the dominant pair is the one that has the greatest responsibility in the defense of the anemone. To prevent outsiders and other neighboring groups from taking over what they consider theirs, the fish actively pursue the invaders and even manage to give them fast and stinging bites directly to the fins. In certain cases, when the invaders are insistent in their attempt to take over the anemone, the defending clownfish even end up taking their lives in a show of the savagery that can be lived in the depths of the Pacific, even on the part of a theoretically harmless species. While small clownfish deal with the challenges of inhabiting the midst of life-filled corals, the colossal sperm whale, a mysterious beast, prefers to live in complete solitude in the middle of the dark submarine abysses of the Pacific. With a weight of up to 45 tons and a length of about 52 feet, the sperm whale is nothing more and nothing less than the largest toothed predator on the planet. Its massive size, as well as its elusive and mysterious temperament, living at more than 3,300 feet deep, make it one of the most fascinating creatures of this entire biodiverse ocean. Generally, the most corpulent solitary males of these cetaceans prefer to inhabit waters near the poles, where food is more abundant and they can carry their hermit lifestyle without any problem, inhabiting the darkness of the sea. Already entered into the adult stage, approximately between 6 and 10 years of age, the males decide to leave the group and look for their own territories in the coldest waters of the Pacific, near the poles, arriving to swim up to thousands of miles in the direction toward those dark abysses. Meanwhile, the females, as in all matriarchal society, will remain all their life in the pod, living in one of the most impressive hierarchical societies of the entire ocean. At the time that sperm whales traverse the Pacific at thousands of feet deep, the majestic hawksbill turtles prefer to settle in much shallower coastal waters at less than about 230 feet. With a robust shell of an amber background and a combination of light and dark streaks in shades of brown and black, hawksbill turtles are one of those species that fill the waters of the Pacific with life. This reptile differentiates itself from other sea turtles, also housed in this vast ocean, by having an elongated head with a mouth in the shape of a beak, this being more pronounced and hooked than in other species. Thanks to its flattened body, with a shell that arrives to measure up to 3 feet and versatile flippers, the hawksbills can reach swimming speeds of up to 15 miles per hour. These reptiles move literally like a fish in water, using their muscular and robust front flippers, which also have a pair of sharp claws that give them a greater hydrodynamic capacity to traverse the waters with greater ease. While the front flippers provide propulsion, the small rear legs are in charge of giving it stability, acting as a rudder. Despite the recognized reputation of slowness that their close relatives can have, hawksbill turtles move with surprising ability in the water, being capable of making sharp turns, moving backward, and even maneuvering in intricate coral reefs, caves, and closed spaces between rocks. Added to their enviable skills as swimmers, when it comes to diving, these reptiles also have no competition, since they can hold their breath for periods of up to about 80 minutes at 230 feet deep. To support the high pressures in these abyssal dives, their flattened body plays a crucial role. With such prodigious swimming skills, despite being reef dwellers, hawksbill turtles, feeling the call of nature, could not adopt a sedentary life. And when the breeding season knocks on the door, these majestic creatures set out from their feeding areas toward very distant nesting beaches in a journey that can take them to cover up to thousands of miles. By being a philopatric species, during the mating season, hawksbill turtles return to their birthplace in one of the most surprising acts of the wild world. One of the main routes of these reptiles in the Pacific is toward the food-rich waters of Vanuatu, a place where they establish their feeding zones toward the southern Australian coasts, in which the nesting will be produced. This journey can take them to cover a trip of nearly 1,500 miles through the agitated waters of the Pacific. Of course, this feat is not at all exempt from dangers. Despite their robust shell and an average weight of some 176 pounds, hawksbill turtles do not cease to be in the sights of imposing predators that will not hesitate to ambush them during the long journey of their migration. The main threats to these reptiles are presented in the form of dangerous tiger sharks and bull sharks, as well as the majestic great white shark. In the same way, near the coasts, saltwater crocodiles represent an imminent danger to the survival of the hawksbill. However, despite their calm and quiet temperament, these reptiles will not be easy prey. Of course, their most obvious defense is their hard shell, formed of bone and keratin, which gives them natural armor against the attacks of the numerous predators that can be encountered during their journey. However, despite their notable resistance to the bite of a massive great white shark, even this solid shield can give way, so the turtles cannot deposit all their hopes in it. Upon seeing a voracious carnivore in their vicinity, far from remaining motionless waiting for certain death, hawksbill turtles take advantage of the uneven seabed to take refuge. Thanks to their enviable agility, these reptiles can shelter themselves among the narrow reefs and cracks between rocks. In these remote places, the imposing build of their large predators plays against them, so they cannot do more than retreat with an empty stomach. Although getting to safety among the tortuous seabed can rid them of certain death, predators will not always be so permissive as to let their prey escape them. And occasionally, hawksbill turtles are forced to enter into hand-to-hand combat against a much more formidable hunter. Here, far from surrendering to the predator's jaws, the turtles will use as a last resort their swimming skills to avoid being devoured, performing sharp turns and trying to escape in fast bursts. Many times, these indomitable creatures manage to defy their odds of survival and rid themselves of a painful death, continuing their journey. Given the dimensions of their migration, hawksbills are accustomed to taking up to about 60 days to complete their exhaustive crossing. Upon arriving at the reproduction beaches, the females meet numerous males that, anticipating their trip, are anxious to procreate. The copulation between these reptiles occurs inside the water, often in places of shallow depth. To guarantee reproductive success, a female turtle can arrive to mate with several males and even store sperm in her body, which allows her to perform several clutches in a single breeding season. After around 3 weeks, already with the eggs fertilized, the female prepares to perform one of the greatest feats of marine life, emerging from the waters on that same beach that once saw her born. What is most frequent is that the reptile prefers to make its landing during the night, a moment in which the sand is cooler and the majority of potential predators, both for her and for her eggs, are found in a deep sleep. For greater security, sometimes the female performs false ascents in which she ascends to the beach, but without nesting, in a behavior that seeks to confuse possible predators that are on the beach. After finding a suitable site, the future mother, employing her robust front flippers, digs a depression in the sand that helps her hide herself. Subsequent to this, using her more delicate rear flippers, the reptile excavates that which will be the refuge for her eggs. With the chamber ready, the female performs the laying in which up to 160 eggs will be deposited in the cozy nest. During this period, the mother enters a state of trance in which she is extremely fragile to any threat. After having culminated the laying, the skilled turtle covers the eggs with the help of her rear flippers and even deposits sand in the depression that she has dug to hide herself, so as not to leave the slightest trace of her presence. After this, the detached mother, just as nature dictates, will leave her eggs to their fate, returning again to the sea, waiting to perform a new laying, a cycle that can be repeated up to 5 times per breeding season. It will not be until after about 60 days that the miracle of life will bloom from the sand, letting see hundreds of small hawksbill turtles emerging. Here, with only a few minutes of being born, the small reptiles must face a challenge without precedent in a march in the direction of the sea across a beach plagued with predators. Although this is one of the most majestic spectacles of Pacific marine life, it also represents a cruel slaughter, since the survival rate of these small hatchlings is minuscule, with less than 1 in every 1,000 managing to reach adulthood. Having culminated their mating season, both females and males of the species will return to their respective feeding zones in a new and marathon-like trip.